Going live now.
Going live now.
We are live.
No. We are live now. It's been a little bit since we've done a podcast. The three amigos.
Welcome back, people.
Well, you can't say welcome back if you're welcoming yourself back.
Us too.
Us too.
We are live.
So maybe I should turn off my audio.
Depends whether you want to hear yourself.
Oh, goodness sakes.
Looking at myself on video, I need a haircut, like really bad.
Yeah.
It's
out of control.
It's getting out of control. Yeah, Lance, yours is looking pretty shabby too.
Mm-hmm. Longer than I like.
Yeah. Well, here we are. This is podcast episode 15 of the Shop Talk Fly Fish Food podcast.
And you'll notice our new podcast set wall.
You notice
different lighting a little bit.
Yeah, Kilo's like, you going to give me a shout out for the wall?
Kilo, here you go, buddy.
There you go.
Joshua
Mena, brother of Brandon Mena.
Of Double Fuego.
Of Double
It fame.
Yeah. He was the person who mostly was responsible for this wall, along with our buddy Russ.
Yeah, rocked in, picked up a hammer and chisel.
It was beautiful because I started doing it. I did like 2 rows, and then it got commandeered from me, and I didn't complain one single little bit.
Plus look how good they did. Well, and then we did the stain. By we, I mean Cheech.
Yeah, stain. I lost some brain cells that day, I think.
Russell Janes, though, and old Josh just knocked that thing out.
Yeah.
Thanks, gents.
Yeah, very good.
Mucho gracio. See that? I learned Spanish.
And which we'll get to the Spanish part of this. It gives us an extra 12 inches so Lance isn't pushed up against the fake wood wall that we have.
Wait, you weren't
unless
supposed
you
to say
didn't know,
that.
guys. Yeah. It was all fake last time.
We had a curtain of wood persuasion, we'll say.
Looked real.
A veneer curtain.
It looked real. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the current events in our shop. We're going to get into what it's like to fish in Argentina. We're going to talk about the international travel side of it. Those are some of the questions that we got, like checked baggage and what flies did they eat.
What not to say in TSA.
What not to say in TSA. Don't go through it with a fever, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, exciting times in the shop. Obviously, one of the things that's new is the new podcasting studio is, for the most part, complete.
Yeah.
The only part of this little area of the shop that's a disaster zone now is my desk.
I just saw that. That's savage.
I've got there's an iPhone box there. There's a bunch of fly materials. There's some Windex, 2 unfinished water bottles.
Yeah, well done.
I've got speakers, 2 sets of headphones.
Oh my gosh.
It's bad.
Are those tissues for when you cry yourself to sleep?
Yeah, they are. When I think to myself, I could have been the one who created the illustrious red dart. And I
thought you were going to go Rainbow Warrior. You went Red Dart.
Red Dart, yeah. Rainbow Warrior, that anybody could
That's
tie
so
that
20
up.
years ago.
It is, actually.
But anyway, the other thing, we just hired a new employee.
Yeah.
Holly Jones.
Hi, Holly.
Are we going to call her Holly, or are we just going to call her Jones?
Oh, it's her
that's
call.
a good question.
Yeah.
But she starts tomorrow.
She starts tomorrow, yeah. So she's legit. She's got some fly shop experience. She's fished salt. She's fished Euro. She's fished in Connecticut.
She's worked with social media she's worked with inventory systems anyway.
Yeah.
So,
the real question for Holly, though, is has she fished dry flies? Because you haven't arrived unless you fish dry flies.
Lance, we talked about this. You need to leave your purist ways aside.
My bad. Sorry.
We fish Euro nymphs here.
Well, sometimes.
See that, you know what? I had to explain that to I don't know how many people that Lance does more than Euro nymph.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yeah, I just got back from Wyoming. I did a demo there for the Seed Skid ETU section last night. It was great fun.
Rock Springs.
In Rock Springs.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was great fun. But people were asking about, does Lance only Euro nymph? I said, no, he bait fishes too.
I do.
All right.
I'm taking my kids bait fishing.
We already have people commenting too, so make sure that you give us a thumbs up. I'm going to start us up. We have 4 right now. We better get a lot more thumbs ups than that.
how
At
is
least
that?
6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
Come on, everybody.
We
mash
always
the
have
thumbs up.
somebody that gives us a thumbs down, at least one or two, which thanks for engaging. It helps our YouTube channel.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, most people are cool. Wait, somebody says we're competing against the president addressing virus concerns. Well, I think we offer a much
The president is competing
rosier.
against us.
Yes.
Come on.
We're going to talk about fishing.
President.
We're talking about fly shop stuff.
I did
Switch the
luck
channel.
out because, like, the day before we flew to Argentina, I was hacking up my lungs
Yeah.
to the point where I went to the doctor and
Demanded.
She
codeine.
She provided me some cough syrup, and I got home, and I was like the scene in Step Brothers where his dad leaves him $20. I called the doctor. I'm like, it's not enough. I have a 10-hour flight to Argentina. So she gave me the good stuff. She totally thinks I'm an opioid addict now, so I'm red flagged in that system. I'm pretty sure. But it made for a somewhat decent flight.
Yeah.
But
Good
yeah.
times.
Well, let's talk about this. So let's see. What are people saying? So if you didn't know, Curtis and I just got back from a 10 or 11 day venture in Argentina with a group of some of the finest anglers on the planet.
We
Right?
had a blast.
Yeah.
So it was a great group of people.
Yeah. I was kind of nervous. It was the first time we've done a hosted trip thing.
Yeah.
And our group was, for the most part, pretty dang
Yeah, everybody
chill.
got along, and
Yeah.
we had a good time. It is kind of cool because Cheech and I both lived in Argentina before, and so we speak the Spanish.
Hola, amigos.
Como
Yo
están?
hablo el español. Yep, anyway.
But we actually can.
Lance went to Mexico, too, and he was throwing the Spanish down when he came back from that.
speaking like a natural.
No, I don't speak Spanish.
Right.
I know a couple words.
Oh, but yeah, so it was good. We kind of took everybody around the city, a couple of days on the front and back end. So, which is kind of nice when we know the city, we know
Buenos Aires, when we
Buenos
say the
Aires,
city.
yeah, sorry. Which you wouldn't necessarily get if you're just traveling to Patagonia.
Yeah.
Some cool restaurants and places to see.
Uncle Zach just commented, sup.
Zach.
Zach was on the trip.
That's right. Good old Zach.
I think I named everybody Uncle something on that trip. So, yeah. So, anyway, what's going on, Mr. Zach, over there in Oklahoma? It's probably a little warmer there than it is here, even though it's really nice.
It
in
was a
Utah
nice
right
day
now.
today.
Fantastic.
But yeah, we had some yerba mate and fished. I even caught a fish while I drank mate.
Yeah, that was on the vidya.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, we have a
No, it's Nico.
Nico.
Yeah, one of our guys.
Banda lechuga.
Lechuga, dale.
That was his phrase. No, but we didn't film as much this time in Argentina. It was more just a kind of highlight reel.
Yeah.
Day one for me, I think, was the highlight. It was actually your birthday.
Yeah, that was an awesome day.
So,
Trollman.
yeah, so Lago Tromen, it's right at the base of a volcano and
It's
super
like
jagged peaks.
Up in the Andes, Lanín National Park, right on the border of Chile. And it's an awesome, just check out the video. It's one of our last ones.
Yeah, the water there, I was looking at the video. The water looks amazing on that lake.
Yeah, it's, even on the video, it looked good. I was like, I hope it kind of turns out. But
Yeah.
yeah, so, and that's the thing down there. We were in around San Martin.
San
which is
Martín de los Andes.
About 2-hour plane ride from Buenos Aires. And so it's the northern
2
end
hours of hell for a guy that's 6'5".
in coach.
Anyway, go on.
But yeah, we stay just outside of Junín de los Andes, which is a small little town with a lodge. That's where the lodge is. And yeah, so you fly into Buenos Aires, and then you fly over to San Martin, and then we fish for 6 days straight. And good time. Rivers, lakes, they kind of curtail the trip to what you want to do, and then what's fishing at the time.
Dude, and I'll tell you this, if you haven't fished for 6 days in a row, if you're not
It's hard
practiced in that, I had to wear a wrist brace for the first 4 or 5 days.
After, yeah.
My wrist was just shot.
But Which guides, like a lot of our buddies that fish the green, they're on the water.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many days in a row, but more than we would ever do. And that, makes you appreciate guys who are on the water that much. Well, I mean, when you go to comps, especially like, how many days would you say you fish straight in Tasmania?
Straight, maybe 7 days. Then you have a day or two of rest, and then again for 5 days.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's, you don't really think about that. You think, oh, I'm going fishing for however many days straight. But,
Right.
You're on the water at
It takes its toll.
9, whatever, and off the water at 6, 7, 8, 9, depending on what you're doing. But
Yeah.
it's fun. I'm not going to complain.
And our daily schedule
fun
was
day.
usually breakfast at 7:30 or 7:45. Guides would show up at 8:30, and then we would kind of split off. The cool thing about this lodge is every night at dinner we would all just kind of get together, and everybody would say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. So we'd split off and pair off, and we did floats, we did still water.
Oh, yeah.
Guys did little spring creeks with technical fish. The very last day I went and hunted just big fish that were crashing minnow balls against a cliff wall.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little bit of everything, and they totally were cool at tailoring. It wasn't just like one lodge that was built around one river system. It's like you could have gone to
So many different. Yeah. That's the nice thing about the way the Andes drifters, the ones we go through, that they work. They want to make it work for everybody, and if you like lakes, you can fish lakes, and there's no shortage of. I mean, the amount of water that's at that in that area is mind blowing. Just at the base of the Andes Mountains, and river system, and tributaries, and lakes, and more lakes.
Different species, it looks
Yeah.
like, too. And
Yeah, and I mean, I will mention, because we have some people mention that, why would you go all the way out to Argentina to catch trout that are not native? Because there are no trout native to the southern hemisphere.
well, here's a shocker: browns and rainbows.
Brown
aren't native here.
Yeah, either.
rainbows are, not to Utah, but to
Yeah.
the US.
Bingo. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the same logic. Why would you go to New York? You could still go to see a movie or a play here, wherever you are. But I mean, that's a travel thing. It's just the seeing flamingos as you float down the river, or it's just it's different, and
lack of
it's,
angler
that's
pressure.
a huge thing. Yeah, I mean, we were like on the last day, we fished a section of the Alumine River where the red dart was kicking it, and
It was good. I'm glad I came up with that fly.
Oh, Clint, Beardy McBeardface. I fished with him that day. We had a lot of fun that day.
Dude, let's tell a little story about Clint.
Let's see. Do tell the Clint story,
My
man.
buddy Clint, he's part of the original Countach Club. Just look up the video called Countach Nymph. But anyway, old Clint realized that there was free Jameson at the bar. And there's a drink in Argentina called Fernet.
Fernet.
And most of us
Con coca.
didn't drink, for whatever reason. But old Clint was indulging.
He made up for us.
He had about 5 Jamesons, and then the guys at the bar like, you got to try Fernet. So it's like 11 p.m. and we go back to our little casita, and we hear, like, it's like 11:45 at this point, and we hear this loud whistling, and then I hear this like blood curdling scream.
And we're both going, is that Clint over there still?
Yeah. So I walked back over, and Clint was like, he was dancing, and I'm like, he's not gonna remember this. So I have video now.
Oh, it was funny.
But his catchphrase, as Mr. Zach pointed out here, Fernet, 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 muy bien, Fernet. I think
good old Clint.
he didn't have a very good day the next day.
No,
But
we had to get him out of bed.
anyway, people are asking about mate. Speaking of drinks,
Yeah, mate.
it's actually called yerba.
Sherba is what you put in the.
Yerba.
Yeah.
Sherba.
But in Argentina, or most of Argentina, your Y's and double L's are pronounced sh. Ja.
It's not
That's why
yerba.
it's not yerba.
Yerba
It's not
mate.
yerba buena.
Yo quiero tomar un poco de yerba mate.
Body.
Que bien.
Yo quiero tomar un poco de yerba mate. Anyway,
And it's good.
good.
I've drank mate for a lot of years, and somebody kind of commented on there. It's a good energy boost without a crash. It's au natural.
old Pablito has taken care of that for us. So
Pablo.
thanks, Mr. Pablo. You set them straight, Argentino.
Yeah.
But anyway, what else?
Yeah, I think at a high level for people that may want to join in the festivities next year when we go, it's with the Andes Drifters, and we book through them, and you go, and we can kind of help you arrange what the timing is of the flights, and if you want, you can fly in with us. We'll take you around the city in Buenos Aires for half a day, and then we know the city quite well, and obviously we know the language, so you don't have to feel like you have to speak Spanish in a foreign country, and we can kind of help you with money, changing, and all the stuff that you may have concerns about. But once you get to the lodge, they take care of everything. It's super nice. They're little cabanas, 2 anglers per, each has their own room and share a bathroom. The lodge is really nice with 5-star dining. It's insane.
Dude, yeah.
For my birthday, they did a true Argentine asado because they know I like asado, and I'm not your typical American consumer of asado. I do like the mollejas and
which
chichulín,
are sweet
breads, small intestines, morcilla, which is blood sausage.
All the weird crap.
Your traditional, like real way to eat. And yeah, so we did that
terrible.
Sunday night. But then you get to the more Americanized stuff, and you have your ribeye, New York strip,
the
whatever
traditional cuts of
kind
beef.
of steaks, which are
steaks.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And chorizo, which is a sausage.
It's not like Mexican style chorizo that's like
not at all.
red and
it's
everything.
more like bratwurst with some different spices in it. It would be the way I'd look at it. It's good stuff.
So,
but yeah, and then you fish hard, or if you don't want to, you can, one of the guys with us, his wife came, and one of the days she went and kind of toured San Martin, which is a little Jackson Hole-ish kind of alpine, touristy,
cool,
really nice city. And
didn't she do like a yoga class or something?
She just had a really
take a break day and have fun.
So yeah, at the end of the day, it's a good time. We'll set up dates for probably January of 2021.
I think January. And so we were there last year later in the fall.
Yeah.
So this year we were a little
like our
earlier.
Equivalent of August.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
So we fished a lot of dries. We had a lot of dry fly eaters. Where last time the dry dropper was definitely the king.
Yeah.
We fished one river where we just threw streamers all day.
That was epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Drunk Drea was good. I caught some on a Euro jig style, but gold.
Mm-hmm.
That
little ostrich one.
Oh yeah. I think we're going to do a tutorial on that one and call it the banda lechuga, because that's where lechuga means lettuce in Spanish. And our guide Nico, there were a lot of weeds floating down, just algae that had gotten loose from the rocks, and you'd kind of pull your flies through that. And anytime you would hold your line up and it had a bunch of lettuce on it, he called us the lettuce band, like a musical group of sorts. I don't know why. I wasn't
made
singing.
sense. It sounded good.
Yeah, so banda lechuga, that's going to be a fly, and it crushed. It was really good.
It was fun. What else did we catch fish on? On the Chimeween, I caught a lot of fish on the Bionic. Holographic Frenchie was probably my best overall fly on the river.
You're talking about the Muda Puda?
No, I didn't fish that. I caught a couple on that. Yeah, we did catch a couple on that.
Mini flopper was really
flopper.
good. Corn-fed caddis I fished quite a bit too.
Oh, yeah, and like a big CDC dry, which
Yeah.
was good. But the second half of that day, the Bionic Ant alone, just fished alone, where you can get it feeding right down to the fish.
Yeah.
First with minimal drag was good.
You know what? That's something we can talk about, and Lance, we'll get your input on this too. But we went down with some techniques that maybe the guides had never seen before, like tying a streamer off a dropper tag, or the midge tip line. But at the end of the day, a trout's a trout, and then they all somewhat feed similarly. But maybe let's cover that. Like the flies that we used in our home river still work down in Argentina. Have you had situations like that in all your travels?
Yeah, for sure. We always, I'm with you, trout, wherever you go. There's obviously small variations you can come up with, but generally speaking, they eat a lot of the same flies no matter where you go. And then just like you're talking, rigging, rigging can make a big difference in the way that the fly swims. If you're fishing streamers, your number of hookups, dry droppers can play in there too. If you're getting a lot of eats on the dry, having the dry fly on a dropper, even though you're fishing the dropper, if you will, the nymph behind it, is not tied in line. That can work really well at times. Rigging, you guys have kind of talked to me since being back about some of the cool things that the guides mentioned, and it's definitely, as you found, always effective no matter where you go.
Yeah, I get it. As a guide, you want to make sure that you provide the best experience possible for your people. But it was interesting to rig up some of those flies and riggings. And one of the guides, Nico, the Banda Lechuga, I rigged up a streamer rig with the fly hanging off a dropper, and we'll cover that later because I think that has a lot of warrant.
So you had 2 streamers.
Yeah,
2 streamers. Yeah.
So I had 2 streamers, and fishing that, he sees my rig, and he's like, okay, you can fish that, but we can always change later. And so it was just kind of funny that, before we even got 50 yards down the river, both Clint and I had fish on that rig. And I fished it the whole day. And by the end of it, he's asking, okay, well, what's the line? What's the leader? Mm-hmm. It says that they can't hear you very well.
They never can.
Yeah. You got to...
I have to swallow the microphone.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll turn Lance up. But anyway...
Turn up the volume.
It was pretty cool. By the end of a couple days, though, they look into like our Americanized fly boxes, and they're just like, okay, you can fish your stuff.
It'll work, yeah.
And it even works out best for them because they don't have to use their flies on us.
It was fun though. Just trying some of our own things, and most of the guides really were cool with it too.
Most guides are
much pushback.
If you're catching fish, you're having fun. Plus, any guide that's, I guess there's 2 parts to this. Any guide that's worth being, having them as a guide, is going to be able to teach us something, and then they also, if they're really savvy, they should be willing to learn something as well.
For sure.
So there's a little give and take there. Yeah. Always worth listening to your guide, and if you're a guide and you're not learning something from clients now and then, you're probably a little too closed-minded.
That's a good example, because when we started out, it was the Cochoncura, where we fished with streamers. That was Cheech and Clint fished, and I was fishing with Mike, and we were kind of leapfrogging on the boats that day. So our guide Martin had suggested we start with floating lines. Mm-hmm. So I still did the double streamer setup, and we actually got out and fished the first little run from waiting, and I think I probably hooked into 4 or 5 just right there, and Mike got a couple, and but Cheech was just freaking nailing it with that
the drunk Drea,
the intermediate 3.5 or
it was an intermediate. No, it was a hover 2.4.
Hover 2.4, Scientific Anglers Titan, that, which is a great streamer line. So at lunch, I switched over to the Scientific Anglers Cold 25, 150 grain.
Sink tip?
A sink tip, on the 6-weight, with basically the same rig. So I was running 2 streamers, smaller ones with the dropper, and then it got ridiculous. It just got nuts. And so at the end of that day, Martine was like, okay, how are you rigging this? And really having that sink tip versus the floating line was a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
Like, night and day difference.
And that's the thing, is because from the boat it didn't seem like you were getting that much deeper with the sink tip, because you would strip it as soon as it hit the water.
You had to, or you get a bunch of lechuga. But one of the funny things though, so I'm obviously using a rig that they weren't used to, and which he was totally cool with, but there were some times where he'd say, hey, let the flies do this, or do your retrieve this way. And there was a couple of holes where he'd say, okay, just let it go. I'd cast out and just do a quick mend and just let it go. and keep a little bit of tension, but mostly just letting it go. And then right as it started its swing, I'd just stop it. And then it was almost without fail in a couple of holes where you'd have a fish on right there.
Yeah.
And it was just because he'd say, just wait.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he said go, fish on. So
Yeah.
combo of good techniques, I guess.
Yeah, they're dialed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about that too. We caught a lot of fish, right? And, I think that some people go to different countries or go to Argentina with the expectation that every single fish is going to be a 15-pound rainbow.
Yeah.
And that they just eat whatever. And that's not the case. Some people say, well, why would you go all the way to Argentina to catch, 14 to 22-inch trout? It's a good question, but, the fact of the matter is we're fishing summer conditions in February.
Wet wading, it was awesome.
The fish are awesome. Like the fish, the rainbows specifically on the Chimaween, for example, they have really white spots, like tipped fins that were
And their fins
white.
are just gnarly
Yeah.
big. They're good, fast, clear water.
Yeah, so if you catch, we caught lots of fish over 20 inches.
Yeah, every day.
And you pick up one of those fish, and they're not like super obese like lake rainbow trout. They're more like rockets, but their fins were longer than any fin that I'd seen, and because of that, they just fought so hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, really crazy good.
the other thing about it is it wasn't easy fishing. Like you had to dial in a technique, and you had to put up good presentation. You had to aerial mend. You had to try to get a drag-free drift. So all that stuff came into play. It's not just okay, throw your fly out there. A fish is going to come eat it every time.
Yeah. You definitely had to work using Lance's Provo casting techniques. I hope you catch a lot of fish.
Boat techniques, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it made a big difference. We were on this stretch of the Illumine, which is riffles and runs, and then a lot of frog water. So we'd have to row through that. But every time we'd get to these riffles that had little drop-offs, and Clint was using the red dart and doing well, and I just kept sticking to dry flies for the most part. But it was really amazing just the difference it made of how you mend, how you
set up the
drift, and man, small little things that were making big differences. So,
cool.
Yeah, it's definitely not shooting fish in a barrel.
No. And even though Curtis and I didn't do these trips, there were a few like bushwhacking spring creeks that some of the guys went to that said it was great fun. I know that Zach and Steve went and did that. If you watched our videos from last year, the famous Brookie hike, several of the guys were able to go up and do that. And the first thing that they came back, it wasn't about the fish, it was about
how insanely awesome the hike was.
Like that hike, you're not going to find something like that.
It's like Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
it's a lot of that stuff where it's just the scale is enormous. I mean, big rocks, big trees, and the landscape just kind of crazy. But
so that's a lot of the reason to go. I think you can trout fish like summer conditions when in the American West is winter, right? Catch a bunch of good sized fish on dry dropper, streamer. Pick your technique, pick your species. And then experience the country and the food and have a travel experience. Sounds like a great time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's an experience. If it's just about catching the fish, go down to the local put and take with some power bait or something, right? I mean, if that's really what it's about.
But that being said, like the last day for me was kind of the icing on the cake, or do I say that? The cherry on top.
Cherry on top, icing
on the cake.
Both of those work.
Yeah. So we went to a river or a lake that Curtis and I fished last year, and there's a minnow run, and these minnows, they migrate up along the cliff walls, and so you kind of cruise along the edge of the cliff walls, and you wait to see the fish bust the minnows. You cast in toward them, and they're just super aggressive. I thought that the baby fat minnow would just crush them. It did well last year, but they wouldn't touch it. The drunk Drea absolutely murdered them. So we're catching big fish, lots of big fish, and then up on the hillside we see an eagle. I looked it up. It's a black-chested vulture eagle. They call it Águila Mora.
Yeah.
And so we see this eagle cruising around, and it tucks its wings, and Chris goes, it's going to go after something. And it swoops down, and about 6 feet off the ground, a rabbit pops out from a bush. The eagle grabs it, and they tumble. And then the eagle just sits there and eats this rabbit. And we're all just like, no way. So here we are catching 20-plus inch fish, but the eagle eating the rabbit was cool.
Yeah.
We looked over down shore. We see wild guanacos that are just kind of resting on the shoreline.
Yeah.
Those are like llama-type animals. And then we turn around, and we see flamingos walking up the shoreline. It's like, okay, this
National
that's
Geographic.
cool.
Yeah.
Like, we'll take a break, even though the fishing was crazy good and big fish were crashing bait balls. We just stopped to watch wildlife.
Yeah, that's nuts in and of itself.
And a few days earlier, we saw Andean condors.
Yeah,
like a condor, like
huge.
They're
huge.
10-foot wingspan.
Yeah. And they poop a lot.
They poop a lot. Exactly. Kind of like the fans from Boca Juniors.
Oh man.
There was a guy here. Okay. There's a guy here that says, "Did you have to habla the blah blah?" Well, we did, but if you went on the trip, you wouldn't have to speak Spanish. No. A lot of people speak English.
Yeah, in fact, when we were going around Buenos Aires, Cheech and I are both there, and so if you need to speak some Spanish, we're all over it. No worries there. And all the guides and the people at lodge speak English. There's literally no problem at all.
Yeah.
So
absolutely
easy.
Should we talk about what went into like packing for the trip?
Yeah, because Lance has done more international travel than we have with flies and fly rods.
Before we get into that, hold the sign closer so that people can see.
Pablo probably knows what this means. This is what we found in the little shop.
It says Che Boludo.
Che Boludo.
Just do a quick Google search on that. So that was the saying of our trip.
In our shop now.
So. Right. But anyway, all right. So international travel. Lance, you've done that more than us.
Twice.
And you had a few scares. You had a few scares with some fly boxes recently, but
I did have
what are some considerations that are different from just checking a 4-piece rod onto Delta Airlines here?
Well, I think the first thing you have to consider going out of country. Domestically, they usually let you get away with carrying on 4-piece fly rods. When you go internationally, that's sometimes the case, but not consistently the case. So I've kind of over the years gotten more and more to where I check my rods, and flies are also an inconsistent thing. Yeah. You can sometimes carry them on, sometimes you can't. Reels are the same way. Most of the time, they'll let you go with reels. So you want to be able to have them in some sort of padded travel case, rods, reels, flies ideally, and have them in checked luggage. I oftentimes wrap all that kind of stuff inside clothing and anything to try and pad it.
Yeah. So for us, we had talked to enough people in advance. So you can get to Argentina with your rods, carry-on, or flies, but once you're in country,
then you can't.
It changes. Mm-hmm. So we have the big fish pond bags that
isn't it called the Grand Teton roller? Or
so
something
they accommodate
huge.
10-foot rods in the Sims bazooka case. So we could have 9.5 or 10 footers, and then flies went in there and the reels. So Steve was with us. He carried on his rod to Buenos Aires. Then when he went we're going to check into San Martin, they told him right at the last minute, you can't. In fact, he went through
security, but
it was going through the last bit of security, and I was like, no. And so he had to go all the way back. Well, no, it's not it wasn't a huge deal. It wasn't late or anything, but just knowing kind of what you can and can't do. One of our buddies had to, he went through one security gate with some flies. This wasn't this trip. It was another one in Argentina. And he had all these flies that he'd gotten through, and he couldn't. So they had to consolidate them and check them in another bag or something. So they're kind of getting rid of flies. And so with all that stuff, it's best to check it.
Unfortunately, and then hope that they don't lose your check bag.
Lance had how many days? A couple days was yours lost?
My flies?
Your flies, yeah.
Coming back from Tasmania, what were they lost? Yeah, maybe 4 or 5 days, seems like. Wasn't
scary
too bad.
enough, though. That's
scary enough because there was like
hundreds of hours.
I mean, thousands and thousands of flies.
Oh, man.
I think there were like 15 or 16 fly boxes in there. Yeah,
crazy.
that was not good.
Spooky.
A lot of tungsten.
A lot of tungsten. It's been worse though. I've had them lose all of my flies, my pack, my waders, my boots. What else? All my rods, all my reels. I've lost them one time for 4 weeks coming home.
Wow.
Not all my rods and reels, but
Yeah,
everything I
it was-
took.
Yeah, the check stuff.
And I think from Buenos Aires to like, so you fly into Buenos Aires when you do this trip,
Oh, yeah, that's
and
the
you
other-
get your bags.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about an international or a transfer from your international flight to the regional
Yeah.
airport. And I think the flights are somewhat small enough that I think that they have a pretty good track record
They're not
in Argentina.
Yeah, because when you do the trip down there, you typically will fly into Ezeiza, which is their international airport, which is about 25 miles out of town, out of the capital. And then you make a ground transfer to the domestic airport, which is downtown in Buenos Aires. And so you would recheck your luggage and everything typically there anyways.
Yeah.
So at that point, you really only have one flight. So that sort of thing where you're not making a ton of connections you're a lot less likely to lose your
Yeah, most of the time if they lose something, it's only for a day or two anyway.
Yeah.
Occasionally longer, but
And that's the nice thing with going to a fishing destination. I'm sure most lodges that are like that, they do have
some
gear
gear.
and flies. So
yeah.
You know what's cool about Andy's Drifters though is they're super involved in that whole process of
with
making sure
booking
that
and-
you get your stuff. And
Yeah.
I guarantee that if something got lost,
they
would have their staff just
Yeah.
bulldogging the
they're dialed
airlines.
in. Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. What else? What any other horror stories you've had international travel with gear?
Oh yeah, when we went to New Zealand the first time, they checked our entire group's bags from LAX. We went straight to the North Island, and all of our bags in our entire group, except for one person, got checked to Chicago. Wrong direction.
Dude.
So we were in New Zealand for I think 7 or 8 days, and I think we didn't have our bags for like 4 or 5 of those days because they went in the wrong
That's
direction
brutal.
across the country. Otherwise, I mean, you get some bad ones. With Team USA, we tend to, you all fly and cross your fingers. When we finally get to our last airport, everybody's just there like, just please let my bags come out.
Yeah.
And inevitably, there's always somebody that doesn't get their bags. It seems.
Yeah.
I've had the misfortune a few times. The worst one, I think, New Zealand was a bad one, and then when we went to Norway, my bag didn't show for like 5 days.
oof.
They're not fun.
That's a bad experience. Just undies alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Lance, you're wet wading this
Yeah.
trip.
Well, yeah, New Zealand I did. I wet waded in Crocs, power to the Crocs.
Oh yeah, Lance and his
Some
Crocs.
Crocs and some Under Armour pants that I wore for about 5 days. Wet wading, at least they kind of got a washing every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty gross, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Curtis mentioned that we took the big, huge roller bags, and that's only because we took 10-foot rods. But
Yeah.
I think that if we did it again, like the 10-foot rod's nice on the lakes, but you definitely don't need to take.
No,
a
in fact, I
10-foot
used
rod.
the 9.5-foot 6-weight IMX Pro from G Loomis
Which
because I
is-
was gonna. That rod is ridiculous,
dude, and that's the one I used on the last day
String-
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Boludo.
did I knock the freaking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one was good. It's great for still water, and you're paying, I don't know, it's $500, $400. It's not an expensive rod
Yeah.
relative to rods.
Yeah, it's
But
not
that was-
cheap either, but
Yeah,
well
but
priced.
you don't have to have the 10-footers. I think the one thing with gear is you want to have something that can protect your gear. So we've actually got the Patagonia bags. They're super durable. I don't feel like something's gonna poke a hole in it. They're visible. But whatever you have available that's going to fit your stuff and protect it,
Yeah.
will be good. And then the other thing is, remember, especially if you're taking waders and boots, bring something for wet things on the way
Take
back.
them
if you're-
back,
yeah,
trash bags.
with trash bags, and what other little things?
And that your boots are going to weigh more.
Yeah.
So if you're
unless you leave them there for the guides.
right, yeah, oh yeah. Curtis, by the end
I
of the
made
trip,
some-
he didn't want to bring his boots back.
Or much else, so
Yeah.
I left some stuff. But yeah, I wrapped up reels in clothing, lenses, fly boxes. You don't want them
Yeah.
stacked and banging against each other.
Right. Those baggage handlers are not known to be really kind to your
No.
stuff.
I mean, our bags have been on only 2 or 3 trips or whatever with those fish pond bags, and they're kind of beat up, you know. I mean, they're wearing well, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they get
tossed
hammered.
around, and
Mhm.
yeah. So
And
anyway.
even with that fish pond bag, we have the Sims rod bazooka tube
inside
thinger
of it, which is
inside.
yeah, that's a must.
So I had 4 rods in that, and it's going to take a bit to
Yeah.
break something that's in there.
Yep. Yeah. What else as far as travel goes? I think just from the guys that we took this time, I think language was a concern, you know, for international going to a different country. But I think the thing that helps is that understand you're not the first one to do these types of trips. So even if your baggage gets lost, or even if you do have some issues, these are big, you know, they're big airlines typically, and they're dealing with a lot of people. The lodges, this is not their first rodeo. So we feel kind of when we go, you know, we having done this a couple times, you know, we can get it kind of figured out for people, and besides the language and culture and food, and Argentina food's super good, and it's not at all spicy, lots of meat, pasta.
You can eat weird stuff, or you can eat
I mean,
normal stuff.
Yeah, so many options. The hotel we stay at in Buenos Aires is right around the corner from a mall. It's like a legit nicer than most malls around here.
With a Burger King.
Burger King.
Burger King.
And
¿Me das un Whopper, por favor?
Hamburguesa.
Hamburguesa con-
yeah, and so I mean you can have normal food.
Whatever.
If you're wanting to go to a different country and have fast food.
But I will say that
Being a
in
vegan, how did you do over there?
you don't get this big by being a vegan, son. I do declare that you shall not call me a vegan, and you are more of a vegan than me because of the naming of your last name.
That's right.
Egan the
Add a
vegan.
V and I'm a vegan.
Right.
Except that I'm not. No. You know,
Yeah.
No problem if you are. Just
But
I'm not.
being an adventurous eater is definitely going to help you. Like, even the lunches are a little different, right? Their salads are pretty much just like lettuce, onion, and tomato with
Which I love. Vinegar and oil.
with vinegar and oil. There's no salad dressing down
wonderful.
there.
Oh, I love it.
You'll eat lots of tortillas, and it's not like a tortilla. It's basically a quiche.
Yeah, it's like a
That's
little
in a pie
quiche
crust.
pie thing, and
So-
and they're good cold, so you can have
Yeah.
all sorts of things. And it's great for guide lunches, but the guides do also heat up empanadas, some carne,
Yeah.
you know, meat, whatever. Lots of options. And as I'm sure most lodges would, but Andy's Drifter is very cognizant of people's diets, and they fill out a questionnaire in advance if there's a certain type of food, like Lance here does not like beef al punto or medium, and they'll cook it for you like you like it.
Arruinado.
Arruinado, grosero,
No,
porquería.
perfecto.
Porquería. Me gusta quemado. I would like it burned. That's all you need to say.
That is all I need to say. And they'll
But-
probably get it right.
You know, it was funny. Old Uncle Steve at the last day at the restaurant in Buenos Aires. He's like, I'm just gonna get some spaghetti and I want some breaded chicken on it. So he asked for spaghetti and breaded chicken. They literally brought him just the noodles. And he's like, no. Where's the sauce? They're like, well, you didn't ask for sauce. I'm like,
Well,
okay.
it goes without saying.
Spaghetti is just the pasta.
Spaghetti is
And that's a
just
nice thing too about the
technically.
food is we went to a little cafe last Saturday night before we left, and with the gang, and I mean it's like Argentines have really good sandwiches. They put like you could have a steak on it or chicken milanesa, which is basically like Wiener Schnitzel.
Schnitzel, not
Schnitzel,
Wiener
sorry.
Schnitzel.
Schnitzel.
It's it's
And
chicken fried
it's
steak.
a veal cutlet, basically,
Yeah.
chicken fried steak kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so there's food that you're used to, just maybe not in that exact format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's a fun time. So
let's talk about. So we've done 2 trout trips to Argentina, and we're going to continue to do those. But night number 1, we went to the lodge, and Gustavo, the owner of Andy's Drifters, he pulled us aside. And he's like, "All right, here's the next step for you guys." So he showed us some video of their their lodges that they have in northern Argentina for golden Dorado. Now, those aren't the kind of Dorado that you catch out in the ocean, blue
Right.
water. If you don't know what a golden Dorado is, do a search for golden Dorado Argentina or golden Dorado Bolivia.
Yeah.
But they have an awesome setup in northern Argentina, and they're catching huge golden Dorado. The one that Gustavo caught on his birthday last year had to have been like 40 pounds.
Yeah, it was huge. And these are not, like you may have seen Bolivian or other kind of Amazonian jungle-ish destinations. These are the
Estuaries
Ibera wetlands on bass boats, basically, with, or on the upper Paraná. Would it be upper? Yeah, it must be upper Paraná. Out of boats. And so... And it's not like you're catching 100 of these a day. You're hunting, but really good opportunity. So
Streamer fisher's delight.
Yeah, and also some topwater.
Yeah, up in the wetlands, and they're one of the only companies that has permission to fish up there.
Yeah,
and so imagine fishing a spring creek that's crystal clear, and then the Dorado just ambush.
Yeah.
So they'll eat mouse patterns. They'll eat topwater popper stuff. So
which month are we going?
Yeah,
October.
Yeah. So we really are thinking
Good
about
thing
doing.
we
an
hired
October
Holly,
trip.
and we can get Lance out of the shop.
Yeah, Holly, if you're listening, get ready. You're going to have a lot of responsibilities come October. But that's one of the things that we're going to start doing as well. So I mean, for Curtis and I, just being in Argentina is
It's
is
fun.
enough.
We just
it's
love.
awesome.
It's our second home.
But being able to fish down there,
Yeah.
is super super cool.
And just chat with people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not every day come across two gringos that can speak the dialect and know the culture enough.
El dialecto de la
Sí, me
cultura.
hablo.
No, we spent a lot of time learning Castellano, like proper.
And we practice it, and
Castellano.
I listen to it every day, read. So
Right, Lanzo, Sir Lanzo Igano.
Jess El Guapo.
Yes, I told him you got to call me guapo. Now, the funny thing is, guapo in Argentina doesn't mean good looking.
I knew that.
Yeah, so if you're good at something, like if you're good at digging holes with a shovel, you're guapo con la pala. So anyway, there's your little Spanish lesson for
Thank you.
for today.
Thank you.
We have a little list over there.
yeah, well, it's,
What questions do you guys have? Put it in the comments, and we might be able to answer some questions for you. Oh yeah, the other thing is the Dorado trip is roughly the same price as the trout trip, and we'll
Around
post some
5.
details. Yeah, but it's around $5,000 for the trip and plus travel.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Airfare.
airfare.
Yep.
And the exchange rate down there is crazy right now. Like,
Yeah, they're going through some continued economic turmoil. They're, as with any government turnover, there's some changes, and people aren't super happy, regardless of what country you live in. It's going to be like that sometimes. But yeah, so dollar's pretty strong, so you're like when we go out and eat. We're eating at nice restaurants in the city, at least. I would say between $8 and $10 a person, kind of a thing. And these are pretty nice.
it was way
parrillas.
nice. Like, what was the name of the parrilla that we went to?
Cinco
Cinco
or
Cero?
Cero Cinco.
Cero
Oh,
Cinco.
no, I can't
One of the
remember.
two.
Yeah, it's really good. And
Yeah.
then we tried to get into Don Julio, which when somebody mentioned they were from Recoleta.
We have one of those in Midway.
Yeah, that's right. And then
Maybe not the same.
La Brigada in San Telmo. We couldn't get into either of those. They're so popular, but they're apparently some of the best. I've not eaten at either of those. I've eaten at a number of others. But.
Plus, we were dressed like bums.
Yeah, and we were mostly on foot. I mean, you're in the microcentro, or the downtown of Buenos Aires, and I mean, again, taxis everywhere. You can do Uber.
That's the other cool thing we need to talk about. So after the trip, we went into San Martín de los Andes, the city, and we went souvenir shopping. But when we got back to Buenos Aires, Sunday morning, we usually go to the street market of San Telmo.
Yeah.
And it's just like a whole bunch of street vendors for...
Gigantic tourist trap, but really cool experience to see the city and kind of the culture. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go and buy all your souvenirs and mates and
signs
that say "Che boludo" on them.
Yeah,
we have that displayed in the shop downstairs, and nobody has said
99%
anything
of people
yet.
don't know what it means, luckily.
Right.
Yeah, so
that was fun.
yeah.
Did you eat some lengua?
Lengua.
Not super common down there.
No?
Lengua.
They eat lengua, but it's more like a pickled, cold dish.
Yeah, I've had that before. I'd say I've probably eaten every part of the cow except the hooves and the horns.
Well, let's change
I wouldn't
that.
brag about
If
that.
you like, literally, you can grill. They can do asado with heart, kidneys.
They
mocheca.
can. It's not meant to
And
be
it's-
eaten, but you can.
It,
Yeah.
If you
cook
get,
anything.
it's for a lot of people who are not used to that, the texture will get you. Like with the chinchulenes, they're a little rubbery, but they're so tasty and crunchy on the outside.
Dude,
No bueno.
speaking of tasty, one of my favorite things that they served us were homemade raviolis with smoked trout.
Oh, that's the other thing. People in Argentina's got Italians. A lot of the descendants are Italians. Holy moly, pasta down there is legit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pasta and asado. I mean, it's all you have to know.
Well, imagine like Italian cuisine with a lot of beef
Yeah.
mixed in. It's really, really good.
Gnocchis.
Gnocchis.
Yeah.
Potato pasta
Potato
dumpling.
pasta. Yeah,
fingers.
so, I mean, it's such good food.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too, man. Let's go to Chick-fil-A.
Here's a good question. You know what? I went to like Del Taco after the trip, and I'm like, oh,
What a letdown.
no, it actually,
Oh.
I'm like,
pretty
this
good.
is good. It was just
Oh,
different.
man.
Old Dominique says, what was your favorite moment of that trip?
Ooh. Lots of good moments. I mean, for me, kind of the highlight was on my birthday. We fished Lago Tromen, which is that incredible Jurassic Park kind of lake, catching fish on dry flies. We did midge tip a little bit. I mean, it was the coolest place I think I've ever fished.
Yeah.
In terms of scenery and fish opportunity, huge fish. And then back at the lodge, had this huge asado. For
Yeah.
my birthday.
That was my favorite part of the trip came on that day too, on the like the most memorable fish I've ever caught in my
Oh,
life.
that was nuts.
So
I saw that one.
We were cruising around. We were there a little too late for the dragonfly hatch. And so we see a fish surface, and it wasn't just like a lazy surface. It was
Yeah.
a real splashy eat. So we're thinking it's a duck, and we don't see a duck come up anywhere. So our guide, old Gonzalo Flego, he says, I have a fly for you. So he hands me Charlie Card's wiggle worm. So, and
Which
I'm
is
like,
kind of dragonfly-ish. It's,
Yeah. look up that fly on the interwebs.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
a
say,
funny
people
fly.
are thinking squirmy wormy
yeah,
right now.
it's not.
No,
it's
no.
a dry
Not
fly.
that.
It's a big dry fly.
It's like a Chernobyl ant with 40,000 legs. And shout out to Charlie. We're like, yeah, we know Charlie. He's a buddy of ours.
He's like, what?
So anyway, it was one of those times where like, you've got to cast as far as you can to try to get to the rise form. And there, my double haul there was everything that worked out. My cast lined out. My fly hit the water, and no sooner did it hit the water that a brook trout.
Just-
Probably an 18-inch brook trout,
Yeah, it was big, fat.
and it eats the fly and comes out of the water about 2 feet.
But I'm like, did it take it? Because you don't see that many fish that come literally all the way out of the water, 2 feet in the
Cartwheeling
air,
out.
cartwheeling out.
Yeah,
And I'm like, even if it did eat it, is it going to be hooked? And
yeah, because
sure enough,
it was so far out there, and I set the hook. Sure enough, it was caught.
it was nuts.
Gonzalo missed the whole
Yeah.
thing. Curtis and I are freaking out, but it was definitely the coolest dry fly eat of my whole life. So, anyway,
For a lousy brook char.
yeah, too bad it wasn't an Argentinian perca. Oh, by the way, we need to answer that question.
You just did.
So on our Instagram to announce the podcast, there's a fish on there, and I said, "What kind of fish is this?" And it's called a perca.
Yep.
Basically,
It is. I've Googled it. Last year when we were there, we caught a number of them. You think perca, perch. It's got that naming convention, but the actual scientific name is perch, whatever, trucha, which means trout. Doesn't look like a trout at all to me. some warm water species, like it's a cross between a perch smallmouth bass and a walleye or something.
Yeah.
They're aggressive.
If you want to see a picture of one, go to our Instagram page, and we posted a picture of it. You lip them like a bass.
It's like a squawfish with spots.
Yeah, it kind of does look like a squawfish.
There you go.
They're fun.
Yeah, so anyway, Peter says, ¿Cómo se dice wiggle worm en
Gusano
español?
wiglianito.
El gusano wiglianito. Dice, gusano más boludo que hincha de boca.
Oh, y tomátela.
No entiendo.
Oh, that's all right, Lance. We're just talking about you. Anyway,
No.
yeah, so we will be posting about some more hosted trips that we're going to be doing. We have some opportunities to go to some pretty cool spots, and we're kind of trying to figure out where we're going to go next. Argentina is always going to be on the list, but
Yeah, for us,
there are a few more, maybe a few more salty destinations.
Hey, Gonzalo.
Gonzalo's on. What a day throw.
¿Qué andas? ¿Cómo andas?
¿Cómo andas? Che, Gonzalo Flego. If you go follow Gonzalo on Instagram, he's a really good photographer.
Very good. Gonzalo.
we-
Didn't even bring your camera out for us.
Yeah. So Gonzalo, a little known fact about Gonzalo is his name in town that everyone knows him by is Harry Potter. So you look at Gonzalito and he's Harry Potter. I also need to throw him under the bus. Okay, so
Welcome to the program. We're about to get thrown under the bus.
if you're a guide and you're going on a 2-day float, what's the one thing that you should bring with you?
Oars.
Oars, that's a good one.
I know the answer to this.
Toilet
I'm making it
paper.
hard. Toilet paper.
Yeah, and maybe a net.
Net.
Yeah, net. Old Gonzalo, every time we caught a decent fish, he'd have to row to,
You'd
row to
think
the
he'd
bank.
just pull out his wand and Harry Potter a new net on board.
Well, we didn't know the Harry Potter nickname on that float, but I was super fortunate to be able to fish with Gonzalo for 3 days. He's amazing, and super cool guy. We laughed and he taught us a bunch of new
Such
swear
a great
words.
group. I mean, we
He must be swole.
all the guides there are so awesome.
Gonza is.
If he's
swole.
rolling you around for
legit.
3 days, he's swole.
Yeah.
He's swole. If he could stay around Cheech for that long and not quit his job.
Speaking of the guides, though, and being a big dude, you got to hear this story too. It was so funny. So every time at lunch, they pull out these camp chairs, right? And the camp chairs, they put them around a table, and you sit down and you eat. They serve you.
Is this a shallow Hal type thing?
Yes,
It's close.
kind of. So Martin is the biggest smart aleck of their group of guides, and anyway, so we're stopped at lunch, and he's got the guide chair or the camp chairs, 2 different types. One's real sturdy, and I guess the other one's not. And I go to sit down in the non-sturdy ones. He's like, cheat, no, that's not for you. So he walks me over. He's like, okay, here's your chair. It's one of the real sturdy ones, and I go to sit down, and he does a drum roll on the table. He's like, ah. And when I sit down, he starts cheering. He's like, yeah. Basically,
I'll tell you,
this is the biggest fat joke I've ever
Literally,
gotten.
though,
At least it didn't break on you.
Every guide there is, they've got good personalities and they're great fishermen, and that's what really makes
That's
it
fun.
a part of the thing. Plus all the guys that we were with too. It's awesome, really.
Sounds terrible.
Sure.
It's horrible. Lance, you're gonna have to come next time.
It's rough. Oh, old Uncle Steve's on here. He says
Steve.
that we were telling jokes around the campfire too.
Yeah,
Steve-o.
there was a little bit of that.
So me, Steve, and Clint stayed up later than the rest of.
Yeah, I had to go to sleep.
Yeah, you went to sleep before the snoring symphony happened.
No, I was awake. I was awake when that was going on.
Oh yeah.
And I know whose tent that was coming from. Holy moly!
Kenny Van Zant and Shelly were right across from me, and Kenny's like, okay, Cheech, you have like a 3-tiered snore. So I told Maria that, and so Maria, my wife,
like she doesn't know.
no, she filmed me, and just like she's been sneaking up behind me the last few days, and she's got her phone. She plays the snoring video. Guess how bad I feel about that.
How do you? Can you hear it
Yes, ma'am.
over the wind noise from the fan in your face?
I didn't have the fan on the
Oh,
camera.
that's
You
right.
didn't?
That's why
What about the
he
beanie?
didn't have his
I
fan.
had no. If I don't have the fan, I don't
Doesn't
need
need
the
the
beanie.
beanie because his hair doesn't fly around.
What
Yeah.
in the world? This is the most bizarre sleeping
I
habits
have
of any
weird
man.
sleeping habits, but that's how I
yeah.
keep this creative brain functioning.
Air conditioned.
All right, air conditioning.
Oh, geez. Anyway,
Mop on top.
long story short,
Yeah.
going to Argentina to fish, especially with Andy's drifters in northern Argentina or northern Patagonia, where you have a huge variety of things you can do and types of fish you can catch. Very
Yeah.
highly recommended.
Yeah, and again, like we try to take a little bit of the unknown uncertainty out of it if you haven't done that sort of thing before. And a lot of our guys that went with us had never really fished out of the country like that. So
Yeah. And also you make new friends. Like a lot of the guys that
yeah.
we talked with, it's like, hey, hit us up when you're in Utah.
oh
Well,
yeah, I know, those guys
Yeah.
are awesome to fish with.
Yeah.
For sure. Lance has fished with a couple of them, right? Yeah, Mike and Steve.
Uncle Mike, Big Mike,
Yeah,
Big Mike and Uncle Steve.
Quiet Mike and
Quiet. Yeah, we were all just giving each other a bunch of crap. But anyway, so yeah, again, we will be posting some details. We're hitting 60 minutes right now.
yeah, we're gonna shut her down.
And did we just make it a whole podcast without any major audio issues?
Didn't have audio issues. Didn't freeze.
Mine was too
So I was
quiet.
a little worried about.
Lance,
We have to have Lance here, even though we didn't go on the trip.
yeah, because Lance keeps us in check.
That's right.
And I don't think that's the way this works.
He does. Anyway, so we're going to try to do a podcast, every 2 weeks is
Yeah,
what
probably.
we've slated.
We're set up a little better now, and
Set up better, so help us think of some topics that you want us to talk about, both fun, both technique-driven,
yeah.
podcasts.
Well, now we're getting into floating season more. We'll be doing some more videos on the old YouTubes, so stay tuned to that.
Yeah.
And we'll just be having fun at the shop. Stop on by.
And don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that stuff to
Yeah,
our
then
YouTube
you know
channel.
when we're in the.
We have Instagram and our store, which is store.flyfishfood.com.
We sell a few things on there.
And you know what? We get a lot of referrals to fly tying with Uncle Cheech,
True.
the Facebook group. So if you're not in that group, go ahead and enter there. You can share your fly patterns, and we kick people out that talk about politics. So
Yeah.
that's
Politic free zone.
Get rid
Yeah.
of the nonsense that doesn't need to be said.
right. Anyway,
Cool.
solid
Well,
work, people.
Thanks for joining. We'll be back.
Thanks for tuning in.
Happy angling.